Hey, I'm Joe Rubenstein. Check out Mr. Comics 89.
Welcome everyone to the Comic Collectors Corner. This is episode 11. Still a brand new podcast, still having fun, so I appreciate you guys for listening. Today we're talking with a guy named Otto from Three in the Basement. I came across his channel. I think it was might have been a YouTube unboxing and all. Not YouTube unboxing, CGC unboxing. It was very interesting. Him and his basement that they call the grotto and all that. Just very fun and interesting dynamic with him and his buddies hanging out down there. So, but again, I don't do justice explaining these things. So let me introduce you to my man Otto from the state of Connecticut. Welcome, Otto. How's it going?
What's up? How's it going, man? Excited to be here. Very excited to be here, actually. Got some fun stuff to talk about and ready to chop it up with you. I can't wait, man. This will be a lot of fun.
Awesome. I knew when I started doing this, I did want to make sure I got you on here because you have a few characteristics, I will call it, that might not be unique to you, but you seem to personify them more than other people. Maybe it's just your personality, but it's just fun to watch.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? This should be fun, right? This should be fun because this is comic books. This isn't paying bills. This isn't like talking about this, that, and the other thing, or this is comic books, and comic books have been fun for me since I was 12 years old, so if not earlier. So I'm going to keep it that way.
Well, since you're talking about 12 years old, why don't you just introduce yourself and how you got into comic book collecting and what do you like to collect? What's your habits?
Yeah, well, my habits have changed quite often, though. So little Otto, grew up in the inner city and son of two immigrants. And when I went from first to second grade, believe it or not, I couldn't read. And both my parents didn't even have high school educations. My father quit high school to join the army. My mother was an immigrant from Germany, and she was a seamstress by trade. So, no formal educations, but they believed in the public education system. And they said, well, and they didn't just blame the teacher. They said, well, what are we going to do about it? And so they started giving me little extra credit book reports to catch me up and everything like that. And my father didn't know what to do, but he was a product of the 40s and 50s, and he liked comic books, so he started buying me comic books. And I wouldn't necessarily read them with him, but he would read them with me. I would read like the Curious George books with my mom and stuff like that. So after a rough second grade, from what I understand, I was actually caught up and able to read. To this day, I'm a very, very slow reader, believe it or not. I love to read books that I have prior knowledge of because I can picture a movie in my head. When I was a kid, like growing up, Star Wars changed my life. A product of the 80s, but in the 77, I was a little kid. But when I would read books that I didn't have any prior knowledge of, I couldn't get a visual of it. It was very hard for me to picture it. So those books were tough for me to read. Tolkien at the time, The Hobbit. I didn't know what a gnome was. I didn't know I didn't have that prior knowledge. But in Star Wars, I knew what a stormtrooper was. I knew what a Darth Vader was, and I knew what a lightsaber was. So I could relate to that. So through the years, I've gone through my collecting and really collected a lot in the early 80s. Very happy that I still have a lot of those books. Mid 90s, I kind of fell apart. Went to college a couple of years. The best 10 years of my life. Still bought some books on the low, but not as much. Then got married, had some kids. Still bought some at the time. I'm very fortunate. I bought a lot of key books in the mid 90s that I'm so happy that I bought back then. And it was just because, hey, you know what? I'm working. I got a little extra cash. Let me buy that giant size X-Men for $125 or that, Fantastic Four 52 for $220, which I thought was expensive at the time. And I held on to those. And, and then probably 6 or 7 years ago, I got back into it full tilt, and I've been into it, all together with the YouTube channel and setting up now and shows and, buying and selling and meeting people and interviewing artists and coming on great channels like this to share my experiences. So I'm all in right now. It's a little crazy. It's hard to keep going after 6 or 7 years with something that you love, but I've changed my collecting habits over the years, and I've gotten into some really, really fun things, and it's been a pleasure to collect and enjoy, and be part of a community. So
Yeah, yeah, and you do things like a comic book crawl, kind of
yeah,
like periodically, where you and a buddies go to several different stores
yeah,
and and you also do something where what's it called, a comic swap,
a
or what
comic
is that?
swap. Yep,
Oh,
yep,
yeah,
yep,
where you guys get
absolutely.
together,
Yeah.
makeshift Comic Con for those of you who are kind of curious, who don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's
But
it's kind of evolved, and the comic crawl. I'm a bartender by trade.
Mhm.
I've been part-time forever, as they say in the bartending world. And you can only go bar crawling so much, especially now with the guys that I hang out with at our age.
Yeah.
But during COVID, we have here in Connecticut, we have quite a few LCSs.
Mhm.
And a lot of these guys are my friends, and they're mom and pop shops, and they were hurting.
Mhm.
And I reached out to Roger. I said, Roger, what if we did something where we get 10 or 15 guys together? We get a Saturday afternoon. If we, follow COVID protocols, everybody wears a mask. And if the store owners are okay with it and they give us some kind of discount, whether it be 15% off or 20% off. And if I tell them I'm bringing 15 or 20 guys, let's do it. And we did it. And the store owners were very fun about it. We make it a day out of it, where we tell you the first spot, but we don't tell you the second and third spot. And it's always a different second and third spot, because we don't necessarily want you to cherry pick. You know what I mean? And we made it where if you come to all three stops, we would give something away. We usually do lunch, and we've probably done 5 or 6 of them. And, I've had 1 or 2 shop owners come up to me and say, hey, those, in I think 2020, in the peak of COVID, we did it twice, and we helped pay the guy's rent for 3 months, and he made a lot of money. He had a lot of back issues. He had a lot of stuff that he was sitting on, and, at 20% off sticker price, everybody's happy, and
Yeah.
so those were the crawls. We're planning on one in October. I should be saying that, but we are. That's gonna be a lot of fun. And then we hosted our own comic swap, which is our second one, and those are mini Comic Cons, as we like to say it. So
Yeah.
I wish
I wish I could do things like that. I hate in the fact that I'm kind of stuck in a desert. I have one local 20 minutes away from me shop that I'm falling out with the owner because of things between me, him, and his girlfriend who works there.
Oh yeah,
It's just kind of like how the hell did I end up the bad guy?
Yeah, right.
But then my next shops are 90 minutes that way, 90 minutes that way. I have to get my books in by the mail.
Yeah,
so
no, I understand, man. I understand. Well, you're more than welcome to come to Connecticut, man, at some point. So we'll give you a good tour.
Well, I'd appreciate it if I ever make it out there. No, my wife's trying to drag me to Texas.
Okay, there you go.
She wants to move back home, and I'm going, I will move to Texas, the state that I'm going to politically hate.
Yeah, right.
If there's comic books there.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So
Nice.
I will make a sacrifice, but I have to have something in return.
Of course.
So, and I said, part of the reason I said I brought you on is you have several little characteristics I like. I know several people mention linear.
Yes.
You have a big thing about, but I think I first heard it with you more than anyone else, and that's why I associate you with linear. So explain to me, or anyone else who doesn't know, your fascination with linear.
Linear comic collecting. Now, linear comic collecting came from a friend of mine who's not on social media, and he was buying books that were relevant to each other in the same grade. Mm-hmm. Now, I want to just preface this by saying I believe comic book collecting for me is a marathon. It's not a sprint, right?
Yeah.
If you wanted something bad enough, you put it on a credit card, you find it on eBay, and you get it. Well, next thing you know, you got a credit card, you got debt, and you got this. That's not fun. For me, hunting books out in the wild or from other collectors, that's fun. And I truly believe in the hunt. You know what I mean? And so, but when you get books that are important to each other, that follow books in a specific order, books like FF 48, 49, and 50, Thor 337, 338, 339, that kind of stuff. You can get them, but they look so much better when they're the same grade, right? Like my part of my biggest part of my collection is my Hulk 181, Hulk 180, 181, and 182. Okay. I don't like to talk about prices, but I was very fortunate. I got my 181 at a great price when I first got back into collecting. And I got that at a 9.2. Okay. So that's my 181. Then it took me probably 2.5 years of what we call, it's a great term that my friend Local for Comics coined, and I'm not familiar with it, sweat equity, right? Buying and selling. You know, my first Hulk 180 was a 5.0. Then I traded up to a 6.0. Then I traded up to an 8.5, you know, with money and other books. And then I finally found it at the 9.2. And then I had actually my Hulk 182 was a 9.4, and I actually traded down to get it at the 9.2. So
yeah, I was gonna say I thought you traded down for one or two books.
The 182. So I have, you know, my Hulk 180, 181, 182, all at a 9.2. Beautiful. I'm done. That's it. I can clap my hands, walk away from that. I'm good with that, you know?
Yeah. I got my own little example here. The first book I had, I got my Secret Wars number 8.
Yeah, perfect.
Came back 9.2.
Yeah,
I mean, and I was hoping for a 9.4 when I dropped it off and all that, but it was like, okay, I messed it up, but you know, kind of a thing. So my Amazing Spider-Man 252, I bought from who's that? Oh, he had a 9.4 and all that. I had it signed by Brett Breeding and all that. When it came back from CBCS, it actually had dropped from a 9.4 to a 9.2.
Really? Okay.
And so I was like, I was like going, dang it. I dropped him. I was really hoping to keep that 9.4, but then I thought, wait. I looked on the wall. Yeah. I'm like,
perfect.
Hey,
look at it.
Linear.
So, there you go. Love it.
So I lost a grade, but it matched. So I'm going like, no, the lessons by Otto. No.
Yeah, there you go. Lessons learned. So that is something that I like to do. I also do like the signatures like you do. And I do have some of my most prized books and like my favorite books. So probably my second favorite villain, if I could say I had a 1 and a 1A, Teen Titans number 2 was one of my favorite books of all time. The first appearance of Deathstroke. And I had come upon a couple copies of it. And this took me probably 2.5 years of hunting, buying them raw, submitting them, selling them, moving them. But it's okay. I got time. And it's fun, right? I got time. I believe it's all about the art of the deal, right? Like your comic books have equity. They have value. Other dealers, other personal traders, they want to move their equity, right? As long as they're not emotionally attached to the stuff. So it took me quite some time to get this book right here, my Teen Titans number 2 and a 9.8.
Nice.
Okay. So I loved it. I probably went through 3 copies before I got up to the 9.8. Then it took me another year and to have this done. And this is a 9.8 yellow label signed by George and Marv. And
rest in peace.
Rest in peace, you know. And so when you put them together, don't they just look great?
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, look, I'm a geek, man. I'm the biggest nerd there is. And, you know, I can ogle over this all day. Teen Titans number 2, my favorite book, at a 9.8 and then a 9.8 yellow label signed by Marv and George. And, you know, I do have a raw copy. That was my personal copy that I remember spending $12 on when I was like 10 years old. And when you go to a Comic-Con with $25 in the 80s and you spend $12, that's a huge part of your budget, you know? And anyway, one of my favorite books. I love it. So that's the linear collecting. And I can't tell you, it doesn't all have to be high grade. You know, my Fantastic Four, FF 48, 49, and 50, they're 5.5s. Great books. You know, right now I'm working on like a Journey into Mystery run, early ones, and those are around 4.5s and 5.0s. You know, like those are great grades for those books, you know. So that's where linear collecting is. Just try it once. It just takes once to put the books together, right?
Yeah. I know personally. When I first got my Amazing Spider-Man number 1, which is coverless, by the way, and we'll get into that in just a second. I stared at that book for hours that night, just going number one, and my Superman 75. One of the other books I got cracked and signed by Brett Breeding, so now it's signed by Breeding and Jurgen, so it's double signed.
Love it. Yeah.
It kept that 9.8, which I was stoked about, because I was going to say if it dropped into a 9.6, I would have to buy a 9.8, because I have to have that book at a 9.8, even if I can't have it double signed in a 9.8. But when it came back, it's like, yes! I just stared at that.
Right. So to think about that, so it was a 9.8, then it was cracked, signed. handled, resubmitted, right? Is that how it was?
Well, I bought it already signed by Jurgens at a 9.8.
Gotcha. Right.
And so when Brett Breeding came to the Colorado Springs Comic Con last year,
Yep.
I'm like, I can have him sign that book.
Yeah.
You know.
He came back in 9.8.
And so I got super excited about that. So yeah, that is that's right up there. If I had to pick a top 10 books in my collection, the value's not there, but I'd have to include that one in there because
Sure.
that is part of my favorite story arc.
Yep.
And a favorite story arc ever. I mean, Superman was my hero as a kid,
Of
and that was my
course.
favorite storyline.
Sure.
Was that portion? So that book means so much to me. I had to have it in that grade.
No, I get it. I get it. You know, I get it. Right. Nice.
So, well, before we go into the cover listing, let's talk about your karate chop and
Okay,
Roger's
okay.
health insurance that he had to have before COVID happened.
Yes. Right. So the 9.8 karate chop stemmed from, I don't know where, I can't tell you. I mean, I think it was the Anchorman where, maybe Animal House, the movie where John Belushi was doing the karate chop. And then I remember in the movie with Will Ferrell when he's a news reporter and he did Frank the Tank.
Mm-hmm.
So the Frank the Tank and the karate chop came into it. And when we do our CG submissions, we learned this many, many years ago that we've waited long enough, right? We waited long enough for the books. So we like to do it live during a scheduled show because you know what? We've waited 6 months. What's 6 months in a week? We don't find out the grades, and we like to do it live with you guys. And we will always say what we think it is, what we think it is, what's the realistic, and what we'll be disappointed at. But if it comes back in 9.8, then you're going to get the karate chop, all right? And it gets a little bit animated on a Friday night, and you know, the first couple times, and I got really excited. And I think I think it actually stemmed from these Teen Titans books that I really went crazy with it. And poor Roger was 2 feet from me, holding up a book, so like I don't like crack him. And he's like, "Hey man, we don't have enough health insurance for this." So I get it. And now it's just one of those things that's become a lot of fun, and people look forward to it. And you know what? This whole thing should be fun, right? And I'm not afraid to put myself out there. You know, I'm content with who I am. I enjoy it. And if you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. But you know what? It just shows you that I am truly excited for this stuff because, you know, there's only a few things in this world you get excited for. You know, the birth of your kids, graduation, becoming, you know, getting your diploma, working hard, gaining something good. And you know what? Getting books back in a 9.8, it's getting harder and harder to come by, you know? So, I just think it should be celebrated. Yeah,
especially a lot of fun. Back before I said COVID happened, when you guys were all down there in the grotto and all that, you're all in person. It was fun.
Yeah,
but it's just it was a lot of fun. Just and I like watching just him. Who was it that first clipped the recording? Was it Discovery Bay, or who clipped the recording and sent it to you guys or something?
It might have been Discovery Bay. It might have been Nemesis Prime at the time. So it was quite a few. So. But quite a few people have edited it and sent it to me in different versions of it, you know. So it's evolved, you know what I mean? It's evolved. So
yeah, for those of you out there good on editing, I think it'd be funny in Japanese.
Yeah, right. That would be a good one too. That would be a good one, you know.
Yeah, konnichiwa.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You know, especially with John Belushi as the samurai or something from Saturday Night Live. So fun stuff, man. Fun stuff.
So, so. Definitely one of the other things I had to touch on today was you're the only other person I know besides really me that said coverless, I will take it.
Yes.
You like coverless books. I mean, you even do it more than me. I've made, like I said, I bought my ASM 1 coverless because it was $1,500. I will say that. I spent, you know, and all other books I bought coverless. My ASM annual number 1, I bought it for coverless itself, and that's not a great deal. You know, I was going like, wow, I would not be able to afford this book otherwise. And so I just bought a reprint cover for display purposes. But that book's coverless. But like, I didn't care. It was there. It was complete. It was gorgeous. But coverless books were great. It's a great option. So, what was your whole thing with coverless?
So, It's kind of evolved. I now actually grade my coverless books because they do have value. One thing you should know, if you have a coverless book and it has a back cover and you submit it, you will get a 0.5. Okay. Because it'll say missing the front cover. Okay. But it has to have the back cover for you to get a 0.5. Books, even at a 0.5, have value. My FF48 is a 0.5. That book just sold on eBay a little while ago for close to $700. And, those are books that some people just don't even want. You can find them in piles, so I have had many gifted them to me. I've had many people say, I don't even want these. You can have them. And I'm looking through it and I'm like, are you kidding me? And they just don't think it has value. So my whole coverless thing, well, I want to preface this by saying my coverless comics, my Jean Grey prints, which hopefully we can talk about too, by other artists, have stemmed from about a year and a half ago. I had lost one of my part-time jobs, which I got back. I worked 2 jobs. I had kind of lost my income from that due to COVID. And so I lost my fund money. And I said, I can't really buy big keys anymore, right? I don't have the equity in my other books to get rid of, to hustle up and get big keys. And you know what? I'm kind of lucky. 4 years ago, I should say this, 6 or 7 years ago when I got back into it, my first 3 years, I bought a lot of big keys from a lot of collectors who were getting out at the time. So I paid a lot less than what a lot of these books are going for. So the keys that I'm going after now have commas in them. You know what I mean? As far as the dollar amount. And that's money that I just don't have laying around under my pillow. I'm not going to put it on a credit card. I want to work hard for it. I want to make sure that it's worth it. So at that same time, I enjoy listening to Kevin Smith on YouTube. I love his interviews. He's such a comic book historian. He's such a fanboy. And he was talking about an interview one time that he did with Stan Lee. And they were talking about marketing and selling books. And it was really interesting when Stan Lee told Kevin Smith that the cover is why you buy it off the shelf. The first page is why you buy the book. Okay. So picture this. So little Otto goes to the comic book store, pulls a book off the rack and says, oh, look at this X-Men, number 5 or X-Men 94. And it's a great cover. Then he opens it up and then you see the first page and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. So Stan Lee used to tell his bullpen that the first page is almost as important, if not more important, than the cover. Cover is why you pick it up. The first page is why you buy the book. All right. Yeah. So I was like, that's brilliant. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So then I just started finding them. And then I was like, oh my God. And next thing you know, I've got a short box full of them. So I did pull some of my favorite ones out. And this is a coverless. I've been finding coverless books. I've got an amalgamy of them. I've got a short box full of them. And I grabbed 2 of them that I thought were really important. And believe it or not, this book has value. This is the first appearance of Kang the Conqueror.
Nice.
And look at this. I mean, it tells you he's on the cover. He's on the front page. You see Giant Man. This is Stan Lee and Jack Kirby greatness right here. And you know what? This is a book I can read over and over again. And I'm not caring. I don't care if it goes down a grade. What grade is it going to go down? It's coverless. It's just amazing. And I ogle over it. And when you put it next to the graded book, you know what it looks like in a slab. So just a really cool book. And you can see that, you can see the word bubbles. You can see that, you're in just in time. A top priority emergency is the Avengers, and a great book right there. So again, what did I don't even think I paid for this. I think somebody just gave me a stack of books and said, here, but this is a first Kang. This book can only go up. It's not going to lose value, and who knows, maybe somebody at some point would want it. The next book I pulled out was a book that I think is really, really neat. It's almost better than the cover, and it's the X-Men, the first appearance of Banshee. Stan Lee, Roy Thomas, and Werner Roth did it. First appearance of Banshee. Yeah. You see him on the cover. He's streaking right through. This is Roy Thomas greatness. And again, a book that I can read over and over again and thoroughly enjoy it, and don't be afraid. If somebody says they've got coverless books, take a look at them. There's value in it. There's fun in it, and I almost brought my first appearance of Molten Man. I almost
Yeah.
pulled that one out. I should have known you're such a Spider-Man fan. So
Well, actually, funny enough, I actually bought off of it wasn't my comic shop, but it was like Nukidia. It was one of the other places. But I was buying like, okay, I got $60, whatever. Go on. I need that one, click, 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 click,
yeah,
click. ASM 35, $3.
right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Click.
sure.
It's $3. When I got it in the mail, I'm like going, it's coverless. I wonder it was $3. But
Yeah.
so it's like,
Perfect.
and then
$3, right? I mean,
and then I got a mystery box a year or two later, and it had a cover on it. So I was going like, hey, cool. So I think I sold my coverless book because I got the upgraded book, and I think Discovery Bay bought it. I think, and so I'm
Yeah.
not sure if you ended up with it. Possibly. I mean, I'm sure there's one coverless
right.
out there, but yeah, it's just like it's cool. It's a way
Yeah.
to. It was cheap. It was cheap.
Right. And I've actually been buying now. I've kind of evolved from that. And I've been buying the books where back in the day, if a comic book didn't sell, the drugstore or the wherever the mom and pop shop used to cut off the title and send them in, send it back and get credit for it. And, those books come back at 0.5 also. But those are really neat because you've got half the cover and half the inside page. And it's really a nice mashup of it. And those, to think about it, those are books that nobody wanted. And
I mean that's a hard thing to me though. I mean that's almost coverless, yeah.
Yeah.
Full cover, yeah. But that half and half is a little more of a, for me, it's like
yeah, no, it's interesting. And I would show you a few though if I had some. But
my I got one in my collection over there. Amazing Spider-Man 55, the first Doc Ock one.
yeah,
He's missing the title on there, so it looks like a bald-headed Doc Ock.
Right, yeah. Well, it really depends where they cut it. So I have a Werewolf by Night that is that way. It was cut off. It came back at 0.5. But the way they cut it, you still see Werewolf, you still see Moon Knight, or Werewolf by Night 32. You still see Moon Knight, you still see the Werewolf, and then right above it is the opening page of it. So you still have the full characters with that. And it was a 0.5 white page book, right? And so then I got this thing where I said, you know what? I've kind of been into this thing also where I kind of like myself a little bit personalized, a little bit unique. So I went and I met Al Milgrom. And I had Al Milgrom do a Moonhead remark on it, okay, on the 0.5. And I had him sign the top of it, which would have been the first page. And I made sure it didn't bleed through. That's at CGC. When that book comes back, hopefully it won't lose. It's not going to lose any. It can't go lower than a 0.5. I like the fact that it's a white pager, believe it or not. So think about this. It's going to be a Werewolf by Night 32, 0.5, yellow label, white pages, remarked and signed by Al Milgrom.
Nice.
If there's more than one on the CGC census, I'll quit collecting. Okay. So that is something that was really unique for me, and it's part of my collection. Listen, does somebody want a 0.5 Werewolf by Night 32? Someday you might. When I'm dead and gone, maybe my kids can sell it and get some money on it. But at least it's something that I worked for and I enjoy.
Yeah. I mean, I've been eyeballing a coverless, Giant Size X-Men #1.
Yeah.
Going like, do I want to? I mean, I know you're not gonna get much cheaper than a coverless book at this price. Especially if I avoid eBay and go through my comic shop if there's one there.
Yep.
But I was going like, do I want to do that? Do I want to spend I don't want to. Right now, I need to sell some books, or I need to pay some debts first. So right now, I'm talking myself out of it because it was out of reach beforehand, and if it remains out of my reach, so what? I guess I got the. If it truly matters that much to see a graded Giant Size X-Men #1, I'll send in the facsimile.
Yeah. Agreed. That's a book I don't have coverless. If I found it out in the wild, I would buy it. But then it came to a fact where people were like sending me stuff like links on eBay and my comic shop, and they were like, "Hey Otto, hey, look at this," and I'm like, "That's really cool," but I don't want to sound. I don't know whether this is coming with the right wrong. I'm not going to pay full retail for the coverless books. I want to find them out in the wild, right? If it drops in my lap, so be it. but I'm not gonna, I like the hunt. I'm all about the hunt, and if I'm at a garage sale and I see it, or if I'm, at a show and I see it, that's one thing. But, I'm not going to go on eBay. Like somebody sent me a link for a coverless X-Men 1, and that was like $3,200. And I'm like, I love X-Men, my favorite group. I'd love a coverless, but I'm not going to spend $3,200 on it. So.
Yeah, well, like when I said, my ASM 1, it was listed on eBay for $2,000.
Yep.
And I'm like, but I saw the seller, and I go, I've bought a couple of books. I bought a couple of my more pricey books from this person.
Yeah.
Through Instagram.
Yep.
So I contacted him through Instagram, going, "Hey, let's avoid eBay and the fees.
Man.
What can you do?"
Yep.
And so that's when I got $500 off of that book.
Perfect.
Shit.
So that's all about the art of the deal, man. I give you a lot of respect for that. That's a great move.
Yeah, I mean, I bought one. I'm not sure if I bought two. Yeah, I think I 1, 2, and 3 of ASM, 129, and all that. And I think I might have bought. No, I think that's about it. I think those are the main huge books there. So I can't wait to send my 129 back to CBCS. I finally got it signed by Conway after a 2-year mission. Well, he was supposed to be at the Colorado Springs Comic Con this year.
Yeah.
He, for some reason, canceled, and Southern Comic Geek was going down to Dragon Con where he would be there. So I knew Southern. I trusted Southern. I sent my book down to him. Yep. He had Conway sign it, send it back. So now I can get a verified signature.
Sure.
But I still get that yellow label. Hopefully I can still keep at 4.5. But if I don't, I almost don't mind it losing one letter grade, because unless it's a 7.5, I kind of, or 1.5, I kind of have a thing about, I don't like 0.5s very much. It doesn't look quite right. 5.5, I'd rather have a 5 or a 6.
Gotcha. I like the whole numbers.
I like a whole number more.
Yeah,
but it's like,
agreed.
Maybe it's because 7.5 I like, because it's like grading in school. Yep. 70 is barely passing, but 75 means you're good.
You're a little bit better. Agreed.
And a 1.5, it just sounds better than a 1.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on it. I agree. Hey, you like your numbers. Hey, it's a number thing, So.
Yeah. But I'm not picky really at all. I think, in fact, other than a 9.9 and a 10, I think I have literally every single grade, because I have 0.5, 0.3, because I have my CBCS books great on my CBCS ASM1 0.3, because they will, if I send it off to CGC, well, actually I bought it from the guy who has had it graded NG with CGC, but I didn't want letters. Sure, I wanted a number.
So you got your 0.3, so you're on the board.
I got my point. Yeah, so I feel better about a 0.3 than no number at all. So
nice.
It's one of those things, like you got your cover list or your linear thing. I have my own little quirks.
Of course, everybody's got it. It's part of your collection, right? It's what makes it unique, Yeah. I mean, if you just had every book I don't know. It's what makes people. That's what I learned really coming into Instagram. All these different collections. When I was a kid in the 80s, I just bought everything because I thought you had to buy everything. And I had a good time. And I bought a lot of stuff that was crap, and I bought a lot of stuff that was worth money. I mean, for every 2 books I bought, one of them, well, actually, for every 5 books I bought, one of them was worth money, and I missed out on many books. The biggest regret me and my brother have is back in 1982, when we were at our local LCS, we were big X-Men collectors, and there was this black and white book by this local guy from Connecticut who made up these characters that were turtles, that were ninjas, and were mutants. And we said, this is the stupidest thing ever. Who would buy these books? And we probably had first prints in our hand, and shame on us.
Yeah.
To this day, we would talk about that.
Yeah. Well, I have my own thing too. I came into comic books themselves so late because I was just, I don't know. I first developed a love of reading, and so I was a big reader for all books. And then years later, when I finally discovered a way to be able to do painting, I developed a passion for art and all that. And it wasn't until, and I got my tattoos and all that. And it wasn't until afterwards that I finally put everything together and realized that there was great story and art inside comic books. And so there, but because I was Archie Reader's Digest, not the comic books themselves, but the little digest package.
Small ones.
Yeah. And then at Garfield Comics, in the same kind of thing in the Sunday paper. That was the extent of my comic book, because they were because it was a newspaper and little booklets, actual booklets, and not actual comic book format themselves, it didn't register as comic book for some reason.
Really?
So
Okay.
I don't know. It's just one of those things that it didn't click. You know, you can be same reason I guess that the first time I heard I didn't hear the X-Men theme in Miss Marvel. That brief second there, because I was too busy watching. I wasn't listening. And so I had to go, wait, what was that? I went back when someone mentioned it, going like, why did I not see that or hear that? So for some reason, my own thought process, I had to have the right pattern in the right order, and then it finally clicked. And so late to the game, but late to the game, I have a full ASM run. So obviously, I did something right.
Yeah, right. Exactly, man. You got on the right character. That's good. That's awesome.
So besides Teen Titans, X-Men, and the regret for the Turtles, what other things do you like to collect?
Well, I've been into these like I've been into my displays now. I love the displays. I'm a huge fan of slab stands. If I could give my friends a shout out at Slab Stands, they make CGC holders. They personalize them for you, and look at that. That's a slab stand right there.
Yep, I got two. I got this one here, and they customized one for ASM 5. So I got a Doctor Doom and Spider-Man, because at the time ASM 5 was my oldest issue, which is why I had them do that one. So I really need to have them do a custom one for Mr. Comics 89.
Yeah, of course you have to. I mean, we've done a few for 3 Men in the Basement, and so I've been doing that. I've been enjoying that, but I got this idea. This is something that I've been doing, and it's been a lot of fun. Jean Grey is my favorite character.
Awesome.
Right? And this actually kind of stemmed from right around the time where I started buying the coverless books. I wasn't really a big Artist Alley guy, but my 3 Men in the Basement brother, Dave in the Cave, he would get these just these incredible covers done by these Artist Alley artists who weren't your top tier guys, but they were just good guys that have done work for comic books, and they do their own stuff. And they would show me these, these prints on these blank covers, and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I just didn't have the creativity to come up with my own, or how do you do it? How do you order it ahead? Blah, blah, blah. So then again, you can't always buy big keys. So I said, Jean Grey is my favorite character. I would love to have artists do mashups of Jean Grey that are relative to me. How do I want it? So I figured I'm going to do 12, maybe 13, but because you have to have a cutoff. You can't have 100 of them. You know what I mean? So I decided to get 12. I started to collect 12 Jean Grey mashups. Okay. Whether or not they're graded or not depends. I do have 3 or 4 graded. You can go back on my Instagram page and see them, but I do have some really cool ones. I'm going to show off 4 of them and give you the backstory on it.
Awesome.
So again, I'm a product of the 80s growing up. Grease was one of my favorite movies of all time. Olivia Newton-John, those tight black pants for a 12-year-old boy was pretty wild, So I met an amazing artist, Elias Chadzudis. He does great covers. He's worked for Zenescope. He's worked for all the different characters. So I met him a few years ago at the Little Giant Comic-Con in New Hampshire, and he's Greek. When I mean he's Greek, he's right off the boat Greek, so his English isn't the best. So I said, Jean Grey meets Grease Olivia Newton-John. And he's like, he didn't know what I was talking about. So I actually had to show him a picture of it. And I just let the artists do what they want. I go, just make Jean Grey and Olivia Newton-John and put it together. That's all. That's all I ask. Because I don't want to, I'm not the artist. I just have the idea. I want the artist to do it. So I paid a big coin for it. I paid about $350 for it. And I got it later on that day, and it went off to CGC. So I have it right here. It's one of my favorites, and I'm going to show you a little bit in detail. You're going to be like, that's ridiculous, but it's not. So this is my Jean Grey as Olivia Newton-John. She's got the short leather jacket on, the big pearls. The pearls actually have the Phoenix logo on the inside. That's one of the things that I always like to show where the
Nice.
Phoenix logo is. She's got the big Jean Grey earrings. The hair is up top, and of course, it's a great picture. It
And
came back in 9.4. I don't care.
that's a perfect grade. for that.
And I mean, it's a great grade for it. So it's signed and sketched by Elias Chazudis on 4/24, and yeah. So one of my favorite books right here. So
I
really
like the
happy
pink.
to have
I like the pink shirt as part of the pink lady thing.
Yeah, the
you know,
pink
kinda-
ladies. There you go, with the black leather on, and the pearls and the big earrings. So really, really happy. So I do have two more graded ones. One by Ron Leary, who actually did Jean Grey in Battle Armor, which
Mhm.
was amazing. And I've got another one coming back, Jean Grey as Storm, actually, done by a great artist. Her name is Ashley Woods. So that's three that I told you about. So then I was at Terrificon, and again, they could be a $40 sketch, they could be a $350 sketch. It's just what the artist is willing to do and how much time you're going to put into it. So I thought about this. I had a blank Thanos cover, and I
Mhm.
said, how about Jean Grey with the Infinity Gauntlet? And I'm sorry if I can't remember who actually did this, but he was a local artist alley guy, and he came up with this, and I think I paid $40 for this, and this is probably the best $40 I've spent in years. So there's Jean Grey
Nice.
with the Phoenix behind her and the Infinity Gauntlet, and as Phoenix. Just a really, really cool book on a Thanos cover. So
Yeah.
excited to have that.
I mean,
Yeah.
I have two little commission kind of book. Well, kind of. I bought one book, ASM Renew Your Vows #1. It was a Battle Line variant. I bought it from eBay, where Jean Grey, Gwen Stacy, and Mary Jane are Venom and Carnage ish, and they are, shall we say, only wearing the symbiotes and
Okay, gotcha.
so I can't show that. I can't show that on my channel here.
Yeah, right. I got it.
Kind of thing. So, but I bought that because I wanted a commission kind of piece, and then I took a blank ASM 850 because I had thought plans to have commissioned on it before, but COVID and things like that happened. I got tired of staring at a blank cover, so
Yeah.
I did my own artwork on it with Sharpies, and so it's kind of like it's my artwork on a comic book cover. So
That's
might
really
be
cool.
rough, it might be kind of thing, but it's like I can look at that book and say, hey, I have my artwork on a comic book, an ASM book, and I can be, I might never happen in otherwise, so I can keep that book and be happy. So that's the two commission-ish books I have on that regard. So that's the only thing I have yet to do really is to go to a con or get a commission on someone on Instagram. It's the only thing I really have left to do that I haven't quite done. Everything else I've flirted with and stuck my toe in the water.
Sure.
But I haven't said, hey, Jay Hood, I want this.
Yes. Right.
I have not done. I haven't paid for a commission yet.
Yeah, I hear you. So it's, again, the dollar value, what you're willing to put in it. I have two more I want to show.
Yeah.
This one is a really cool one. This was done by Mike Provo. Mike Provo is the person who did all of Ages of Alaska's artwork. Mike is a great artist from Alaska, former military man. So thank you for your service, Mike. And Mike actually came down to one of our 3 Minute Basement comic book swaps, and I was fortunate to go to Alaska 2 summers ago and spend quite a bit of time with them. So I asked Mike, because Mike is a huge Joker fan. So I said, Mike, how about a Dark Phoenix Joker mashup?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, how do you want me to do it? I go, do whatever you want. Just make Jean Grey or make Dark Phoenix and the Joker together. So he sent this to me, and I'm telling you, this is probably my second. I mean, they're all my favorites, but this is really awesome. So full on Dark Phoenix as a female Joker with everything about it. And if you look close enough on her suit under the purple, you see the Phoenix logo right there.
Yeah.
So instead of the red hair, you have the green hair. You've got the pose with the Phoenix flame around her. So that's really, really neat.
Let's put a smile on that Phoenix Force.
Look at this, man. This is I mean, can you imagine batshit crazy? So again, really cool. Now, this piece was a year in the making. And for those of you guys who don't follow George Deep, you can follow him on Instagram. It's From the Vault in Maine, or you can just type in George Deep. George Deep is an independent artist from Connecticut, now lives in Maine. He does prints. He's a great member of the comic book community. And a year ago at Terrificon, I said, George, how much for a commission? He goes, I don't know, but I'll charge you a lot. And I said, okay, that's fine. And I said, I want a Captain America Jean Grey mashup. And the only thing I asked for him to do was put the Phoenix logo on the shield. Okay. And he goes, well, how do you want it to look? I go, I don't care. Just put the logo on the shield and do the rest yourself. So, you know, I hadn't seen George for quite some time, and, you know, we would chat every once a month, and he'd be like, yeah, I'm working on it. It's going to take me some time. I said, George, I don't care if it takes you 5 years. You know, I mean, as long as you got it, and I know you're going to do it, just do it. I'm not going anywhere, and good Lord willing, you're not, and let's enjoy this together. So there was a show last year at Little Giant, and George kept telling me he wasn't going, and guess what, Matt? He was going. There. He went. So we're sitting there, and I was just ecstatic to see him, and I was just, because he is a good friend of mine, and he goes, I got something for you. And he pulled this out. Now, it brought me to tears because I asked him, how much do I owe him? He says, you don't owe me anything, Otto. He goes, I have gotten so much business from you and Three Men in a Basement that I don't want anything. I won't take anything from you. He goes, if you give me money, I'm going to rip it up right in front of you. And I said, okay, George. And then he goes, I want you to have this. And this truly is my favorite sketch because it was made out of sincere gratitude and sincere friendship. And it's right here.
Nice.
And George is a huge John Byrne fan. And he's a true, 70s, 80s fan. And just everything about this screams 1980s art. You know, the Phoenix on her chest, the power fist right there with the crackle.
Yeah, I love that power fist.
Yeah, the power fist, the flame on the bottom, the shield itself. And I won't even send this in to get graded because I look at it all the time. It is by far, it is my favorite, and the level of detail, the level of work, and the sincerity that George put into this is something that is truly transcends more than comic books. You know, friendship, gratitude, and stuff like that. So, guys, please follow George Deep because this is something that is absolutely amazing, and she is badass in this. You know, so
yeah, that's about perfect. That's about. That's kind of what I'd imagine, honestly. If I said, give me a Jean Grey Captain America mashup, I might imagine something very similar to that. So
yeah, right.
Is gorgeous.
You know, so we've named her Captain Phoenix. You know, we've really named her Captain Phoenix. So that's a cool character. So those are some of the other ones. And if you guys want to go back on Instagram, Everett_Otto, you can go back and follow them and see the rest of them and, you know, stuff like that. So
yeah.
Man, I guess, man, now that I'm talking about this, I got a lot of quirks, man.
Yeah, well.
I'm a little bit out of my mind, I guess, so.
Yeah, well, we can all suffer insanity or we can enjoy every minute of it.
Yeah, exactly, right? And that's what it is. And it's people say to me, what should I do? You know what? Collect what you like, you know? I mean, and I have another friend of mine who's not on social media. When he talks about books and people ask what he paid for it, he goes, what does it matter what I paid for it? It's my money.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you can justify it like that, then so be it. If you overpay, then if who's to say you overpaid if you want something that bad?
Yeah. You know? I traded the first full appearance, the second full appearance, and I think the cameo of him, Adam Warlock, in the Thor books and the FF book. Yeah. I traded them in at a flea market for actually this book right here. You know,
right.
You know, I traded them in for this book. Now, this book I'm not sure how the value is in this book still because some people are mixed with the show, but to me, this book and this character were much better. Adam Warlock was a spec investment. I bought that book going, I'm not in love with the character.
Sure.
I like the character, the idea of the character, but I just like going, who's the character? But She-Hulk. I liked She-Hulk, and so when I saw this book was on my list for this year, and I thought, that is 9.0. It's perfect.
Yep.
It's gorgeous. I'll trade these 3 books for this book. Now, the value might be towards the person there, and I might have been, people might say, people might question my trade value, and you're more than welcome to question it, because sometimes I wonder, did I get a good deal?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But I also go, you know what? I love this book. I'm happy with this book, and it didn't cost me a penny.
Right, exactly.
So I'm very happy with that. So it's just,
and listen, She-Hulk was very important to me too when she joined the FF. I have the John Byrne run. I have a poster from 1983. You guys can look that up right now. It's in I teach high school. It's in my classroom, and it reeks of the 80s, but that's what I remember. John Byrne greatness. And, that's a great book. I would have done that all day. And that was Stan Lee's last book.
Yeah.
That was Stan Lee's last book. So, that's something that's important. Jennifer Walters was Stan Lee's last book.
Yep, Stan Lee. So, that
was the last book he wrote. So, and you know what? Just to touch on the show, listen, I love it. You can't have. Here's the reality of it, and I'm going to lay this on the line. You know what? Maybe I hope you don't get any thumbs down for this.
They can.
You can't have cataclysmic world-ending events in everything that you watch. Right? Comic books were based on street-level villains and street-level heroes. That's why Daredevil, Power Man, Iron Fist, Spider-Man, all these characters, that's why they were so relatable, because they were going after the bank robbers, the thugs, the gangsters, and that's what She-Hulk is doing, and I do want to say this, so I don't know, I think Instagram lately got a little bit too vicious to certain things. And, when they showed her twerking, listen, if that was Deadpool, people would have loved it.
Yeah, right? That's what I'm thinking.
People would have absolutely went crazy for it and said, that was the funniest thing ever. You put She-Hulk to do it. There were a couple of haters out there. Go, whatever. Don't watch it. I mean, I love this stuff because you have to growing up, I had Spider-Man that threw rope out of his arm, My favorite Batman was, Adam West, and vertical up a building, so
and has anyone ever read a sensational She-Hulk? There's literally it's twerk up the wazoo.
Yes. Oh my God. And she broke the fourth wall all the time. It was part of what John Byrne did with her, and it's nothing new. So kudos for you for doing that, man.
Yeah, I mean, my sensational She-Hulk over 40 over there, the jump rope issue.
Yes,
kind of. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, I had that same kind of thing when people are complaining about, downhill since Indiana, downhill since game. I actually did a video that I did on my channel because I felt so strongly about it, going like, we just had a world final thing at Endgame. I mean, it was larger than life. It was not going to get any bigger than this. Captain America retired, dead. Iron Man dead. Characters gone. Hawkeye gone. Going like that. You've lost most of the Avengers. Black Widow now dead. You have to rebuild the Avengers. You have to rebuild the universes. It's not going to be. We spent 10 years going better and better, and going and drooling and drooling and drooling. Sure. But then we became spoiled kids.
Oh, absolutely.
And now we're like, damn it. This episode is not the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. How dare you show it to me? It's like,
you know what? I agree with you 110% on that.
That's ridiculous.
Right. You've got to get it. And who would have ever thought the Eternals would be a comic book? Some of Jack Kirby's finest work, I mean, at least in my opinion, the creation of an entire world of characters, Jack Kirby lived and breathed the Eternals. And I will say this, do whatever you want with your own money. The Eternals number 1, 2, and 3 are still undervalued books. Kevin Feige believes in the Eternals. They're not going anywhere. So, if you can get them, this is my only advice. If I could leave it with any advice, buy Eternals number 1. It's going to be worth it if you're looking for something to invest in.
Yeah. I have Eternals number 1, 8.0, and PGX, where I bought it off of eBay. I got a number 2 and number 4. I think number 2 was like a 4.0 because it was a cut. A razor cut in the back of the cover. And I bought it just to have it because the low grade didn't bother me. Reggie was selling it for $25 $25, $30, $45, and we're like, Eternals are coming up, that cheap for that book?
Yep.
I'll buy it.
Let's do it. I agree with you.
So, we're closing in on the hour mark. So, what are some of your favorite issues or things? What would you know? We touched everything you recommend, or you see in your collection. What would you recommend? You know, things that people should have, or if you because you say you collect what you like, but what would you recommend that people should have? I've recently come to a conclusion that on a podcast, the person was right that one of the greatest stories of Spider-Man ever is the 6-issue Spider-Man life story.
Okay.
That whole thing. The way it all wraps up, it summarizes his entire history and all that, streamlines it and whatever. And in the way it's told, he and MJ might have split a little bit, but they still wound up back together. So in a way, their marriage ended with them the way it should be, them together, kind of thing. So it's my mentality. I'm a big fan of the marriage. And so I say that you should get, if you, at the very least, if you don't have the single issues, you should definitely have the trade of the 6 things. You should definitely have it, things like that. And things like, it's like Superman 75. Yep. I say you should it's a very important issue in comic book history with the death of Superman.
Sure.
The book might be everywhere and it might not be very expensive, but it's a $10, $20 raw book. You should have it because the story itself is important to comic book history. It stands the test
of time. And I will say, though, when that book first came out, I wasn't actively collecting. I was back in my college days, and regular people, and it was funny because I was always a comic book geek. I always was, but I mean, when you're sitting around, half a dozen guys and you're sitting there and you're talking about this and you hear a bunch of guys say, yeah, man, they're killing off Superman. And you're kind of perk up and you go, oh, well, what do you know about that? And then I'm not throwing my superhero flag up, but I'm like seeing what they got to say to us. And these guys were comic book collectors. And they're like, yeah, they're killing off Superman. I mean, that was iconic. The breaking of the bat, the Bane, iconic. You know what I mean? Those are important things. For me, if you were to ask me what are probably the top 5 story arcs that I love or that people should read, I'm going to be my snob and I'm going to say The Death of Jean Grey or X-Men 129 through 135. That's the most iconic story I ever read. Okay, the most iconic story arc I ever read. And I did have a conversation at length with Chris Claremont about it and how there is, and I talked with Jim Shooter about this too, where Claremont somebody didn't want to kill Jean Grey. I think it was Claremont said, you can't kill Jean Grey. Shooter said, then what are you going to do? Spend the next 2 years having the X-Men break her out of jail? Is that what you want to write, Chris? And Chris and Jim Shooter would go at it. And then finally, Chris Claremont got so mad, he stormed into Jim Shooter's office and he goes, you know what? I don't want to do this for 2 years. I want to write other things about the X-Men. He goes, then what do you do? He said, I'm just going to kill her. And he said, perfect. So that's what happened with that. And my second favorite story arc, if that's one, I think Crisis on Infinite Earths is very, very important. Marv Wolfman, George Perez.
That's a tough read for me.
Yes, absolutely. I cried when Supergirl died. I cried when she died. And, the death of Barry Allen and just the Anti-Monitor and just amazing George Perez artwork with all those characters and Marv Wolfman keeping it in continuity. Sticking with Marv Wolfman and George Perez, the Judas Contract, the 4-issue story arc that ended in the Teen Titans annual. People need to know that. People think it ended in the issues. It ended in the annual. You guys, and I'm not going to tell you the spoiler on it, but you have to read the annual. That's where it ended. 30 years after the book came out, one of my buddies, one of my longtime friends comes up to me and goes, did you know it didn't end with the 3 issues? There was a 4th issue. I go, yeah, in the annual. He goes, we've been friends for 40 years. You never told me that. I said, I thought you knew it, The trial of Hank Pym in the Avengers from 1980 when Egghead, makes, Hank Pym go to jail and he goes insane. Iconic. This is what I'm reading right now. You would love this. I'm rereading this.
Oh, Death of Death of Kraven. Yeah.
Yes. Kraven's Last Hunt.
Yeah. ASM. What was it? 294.
Yeah. Started with Webb.
Yeah.
293 ASM. Peter Parker 131, Webb 32, 294, and 132.
Yeah.
The relevance of this is the first crossover.
Mhm.
This is one of the first crossovers. Jim Shooter, who was the editor at the time, but this is greatness. This is Brett Breeding, Mike Zeck, Jim Shooter, and DeMatteis was the writer. And Jim Shooter made it perfectly clear that you can't have 3 Spider-Man books, and in one Spider-Man, he's in New York City wearing a red costume. You can't have him in somewhere else wearing a black costume. It's got to all make sense. So that was kind of the first crossover, So that was really important to me.
But yeah, that 294 Death, Amazing Spider-Man 294 Death of Kraven himself was actually the first one of 2 books that I had signed myself. The other books I've bought signed or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's one of the first 2 books that I had signed myself, and it came back 9.0.
Okay,
but,
perfect.
As I said again, it was I got it signed by Mike Zeck.
Yep.
And all that, so it was like cool to have it. So
yeah, and I will tell you this about Mike Zeck. I don't know if this is common knowledge yet, but Mike Zeck doesn't live in the United States anymore. He moved out of the country. He moved down to the islands in the Caribbean, and people I know that are facilitators have reached out and tried to get Mike Zeck signatures for the past 8 months. He's not doing them. So once that becomes common knowledge, I think all Mike Zeck stuff is going to increase in value, because unless he really wants to do shows and cons, he doesn't have to do them, and he doesn't want to do them. And Mike Zeck, he's a creator of the Black Suit. He is the creator of the Black Suit Spider-Man, and that's something that is so relevant now. So
yeah. Thanks for making me regret having him not sign my Secret Wars 8, because I didn't want to crack that. I didn't want to crack that book at a time.
You didn't know. So,
I didn't want to lose the 9.2.
I know, but hey, listen. If he comes around, if he does any signature facilitations, I'll be sure to let you know. Okay. So, but he moved out of the country, believe it or not, which is amazing, which is unbelievable. And and I do want to show one more piece off, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So, and this is kind of relevant to you because I know you're a Spider-Man guy. So I was able to get some short story long. I came in contact with an adult who used to work for Marvel in the 90s. And she worked in their marketing department before they moved out to California. And she didn't want to move out to California because she had just started her family. So she had given me all this extra Marvel office stuff. And she gave me this Marvel letterhead that was an original Marvel letterhead from 1990. And this was actually the letterhead that they would use for rejection letters. And so there's actually a couple artists on this who say, I don't even want to write on this because I remember getting it. And then there was a couple other people who said, I never got one of these. And so over the past 3 years, I've worked on getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 9, maybe 10 signatures on this and sketches. And I'll show it to you right here. So this is Marvel letterhead that you can see. And right up on top, you can see from the Marvel offices right there. And then on the bottom, it actually shows you the Park Avenue address with the fax number and the office, and then 1990 right here with the Spider-Man. So I have slowly worked on having Mike Zeck, Bob McLeod, Joe Rubenstein, Randy Emblem, Donnie Cates, Jim Shooter, Al Milgram, Mark Bagley, and oh my God, who just did Thor, Esad Ribic, do sketches on this. And it's something that I'm going to get one more sketch done of a Green Goblin head, and then I'm going to send it to Michaels to put it in a much better frame, because this is just a very cheap one. And they all did different versions of it between Roy Thomas, and you can see it. So I thought you being a huge Spider-Man fan, where are you going to get the Goblin? The top right or the bottom? Yeah,
right?
Probably right in the center. I mean, I don't have much space. Right there, maybe right there next to Spider-Man, either there or there. It's not going to be very big. Even when Mark Bagley did the Felicia Harding, he's like, that's not a lot of space. I'm like, well, I don't need a lot. I just need her, And Jim Shooter didn't want to do a sketch, but he wrote from the offices of Jim Shooter, when he was editor. And then Al Milgram, who's very funny, wrote who, Donnie Cates did a Venom right there and said, I'm Spider-Man, I promise. So I've got Carnage, the black suit, the Roy Thomas. So really fun stuff. So
because I can just see Green Goblin, I think on the top right, kind of like past the webbing, and he's kind of like sinister, facing off to your right, like looking at you like.
Absolutely, with a big grin on his face. So so I'm gonna complete that relatively soon, and that's it. So
awesome.
Whew, my God, I guess I do collect a lot of stuff. Jesus.
Well, like I said, for the longest time I held off against Pops, I guess, because they were like incredibly. In fact, I'm not sure if I'd have to. When my first Pop was, I can't remember really anymore. I think it had been a Spider-Man one. I think.
Okay.
I don't know.
And now look, you got half a dozen behind you.
Oh, there's all over, and I have totes at Walmart.
Yeah,
they can fit 4 deep, or they can fit 4 by 4 and two rows in there, so I can fit like 32 in there, and I have like 4 here and 2 with my brother in his small closet. So I have like 250 Pops now. And in fact, I just bought this. This will be a exclusive to this video. I just bought this from Walmart on my way home.
Okay.
The 4-pack.
Oh, look at that! Portland. All right. Yeah.
So
nice.
I couldn't pass up on the 4-pack of them because it has the Thors, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Gore and all that. Valkyrie is got like, she's the bonus.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was the thing there. But yeah, I don't remember what the first Pop I bought was. But then once I bought the first Pop, then it led to more. So it's like, crap.
It happens, man. It happens. It just takes one. So, but hey, you like to do it. So
yeah,
nice.
But I do appreciate you coming on to join. You were always fun to talk to, from the knockout when you argued for Optimus Prime.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't win on the Autobot. You know what I mean? It was a tough one. The girls came out well. They hit me good.
Yes. Life with two YouTubers and Rena are very good and all that. But next season promises to be a very fun matchup when I do all villains. Yeah, it's going to be an all bad guy thing.
There you go.
Yeah. I think I said I'm pretty sure I settled on the theme, which is it's good to be bad or something like that.
I like it.
So it's like one of the baddest of the bats. That way the only rule is there are no rules. Go for the throat.
For sure. Awesome.
So definitely a lot of fun. But yeah, I knew I had to have you on here because part of things for that I hold in collecting. I've only really heard from certain people, and you seem to embody some of them. Like I said, the linear.
Yeah.
I hear it from you. I don't really know. I know a few other people have covered this stuff once in a while, at least I think. But you're the only other person I could point to. I said, I know Otto loves coverless books.
I do, man. I do. So, for all those reasons. So,
Yeah, and so I buy coverless because it's like, I can have it. So I seriously, give myself another week if I decide to buy that giant size X-Men #1 if it's still available. Just because I said, you know what? I can't hold out anymore.
It's a giant size X-Men 1, no matter what. It's still a giant size X-Men.
Stupid or not, I have to have it. So who knows? I might end up doing it. I might end up paying for it later on.
Right. Hey, okay.
But that's why I said it's the only thing I have to be smart, Matt. Be smart, Matt. So it's very hard to be strong sometimes.
Yeah. No, I hear you, brother.
But yeah, like I said, it was great to have you on. I got several things from you. 2 books. I got a Batman Who Laughs that I won from a prize from you,
nice.
And I think I'm not sure if I won this or if you threw it in, but it was like a Jean Grey Phoenix cover itself. It was a Phoenix variant kind of thing. Going like, oh, that's cool, and it's still in my collection somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. That was awesome. Yeah, we do lots of giveaways on the channel. If you don't mind me, our channel is 3 Men in the Basement right now. We're just over, we're just under 3,333 subs. So that is a great number. We're only going to hit it once. If you head over to 3 Men in the Basement, please sub up. Go to that video. Find out how to enter. We're giving away 3 really cool things. So you get it 3. The 3 Men in the Basement, 3,333 subs. Head over there. We've got lots of things coming up. A week from Wednesday, hopefully, I'm going to have a huge writer of a major Marvel character coming on live. Hopefully, it's in the works. We've got some giveaways. I got a huge invoice from CGC, so we'll be doing some unboxings. So we got a lot of things coming up on 3 Men in the Basement. So you know what? sub up to us, sub up to Matt's channel.
Yes.
Enjoy it, share the videos, comment, please, you guys, because I really do read all the comments about what to do. What drives channels and what people really like to see. And Roger, myself, and Dave in the Cave, we do a lot of things. In 2 weeks, if you're in the New England area, Jim Steranko will be at the Little Giant Comics retail store in New Hampshire, and we will be there covering it, whether we'll be live there. We'll be there all day. Jim doesn't like to go on camera or take pictures, but maybe we can get an interview with the late, great Jim Steranko, and hopefully you guys will see us there. So please follow us on 3 Men in the Basement, also on Instagram. And on Instagram, I'm Everett_Otto. So, Matt, a great time hanging out with you, man. Thank you for this.
Yes, you're welcome. It's a good pleasure to have you on here. You're one of those guys with just a lot of energy and a lot of charisma and things like that.
It should be fun, right? The minute it becomes fun, it becomes a job, and that's what I don't want it to be. I got 2 of those, right? So
yeah, I've been eyeballing a second lately because of my wife's currently a student teaching and all that. Yes. She's trying to get that, so she's had to cut back on her regular job and all that. So it's going like, okay, we need to get a little extra money somehow. So I'm eyeballing a part-time job for the next 2 months.
Man. Right. Hey, listen, I work part-time. I'm fortunate. Some people can't work part-time. I find it to be, it's no burden on me, man. You know what I mean? So anything extra that you can do, people should be fortunate they can work part-time.
Yeah. So again, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you everyone who's listening. You guys are incredible. Again, sub both of us up, like this video if on YouTube, and just thank you very much for joining us. I realize an hour and 12 minutes might be a long video for some, but it's kind of hard to do anything shorter than an hour with conversations like this. They're standard and all that. So again, thank you, Otto. You're always welcome on this channel, on either of my podcasts and all that. You are so much fun to have and talk to. So yes, thank you very much for joining me today.
My pleasure, man. I loved hanging out. I worked 2 jobs today. Then I came home and did this. This was the best part of my day. So thank you, brother.
Awesome. Well, I'll see everyone later. Have a good night. And as I always like to say, happy collecting.
I love it.
See you guys next time. Talk to you later.